Thank you, Mr. Veluswamy, for speaking to Express Drives, and welcome to the show.
Hi.
So,
Thank you very much for calling me.
yeah,
Delighted to be part of your interview.
thank you so much. That's really nice of you. And today's, like I was saying, the topic today is very different. It's not about just the growth or the usual numbers. We are talking about how Mahindra, which till a few years back, across the country was known as predominantly a manufacturer of diesel vehicles and mostly SUVs. And within a short span, Mahindra has swung the clock to being having a very good balance between petrol and diesel. So, first of all, please tell us how the story started, this journey, when you got the first directive to start working on petrol engines. So, how did the story unfold? Where did it start? When? If you could briefly take us through, because it's a very interesting story.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So somewhere around in 2009, we were conceptualizing the KUV at that time. So we knew in that segment gasoline plays a major role. The petrol plays a major role, and we were not at that time. I have not ventured into gasoline engine developments. We just released the Amark engine into the market in 2007, and it was very successful diesel engine. And our MBA engine has always been a successful diesel engine. With those two engines, we were taking care of all our products. Um, we knew that the gasoline engine is a different technology piece, and it's an art to develop those engines. It's not easy. The diesel is something different. Gasoline is something different. So we built the team, a team of about 72 people, carved out, and we put our best talents. And then we thought, okay, we need three different gasoline engine. So we need about 1.2 liter for that segment, the segment KV segment that we were coming in. We need about 1.5 liter. So then we need about 2 liter. These are the three engines that we need. We also know that the manufacturing lines have to have a common bore strategy for at least the first two engines, 1.2 liter and 1.5 liter, and a different bore and stroke for a 2-liter engine. So the 2-liter engine that goes in Thar is a brand new GTI engine. So we did develop. We had this thinking in our mind, and then you have different levels of technologies: naturally aspirated engine, MPFI. This is multi-point injection MPFI technology, then GDI. So we converged on the bottom end to be the naturally aspirated with 1.2 liter, which had a capability to go to turbocharged MPFI, and then GDI. So we had an expandable one. And in the top end will be GDI, because the performance levels required for that kind of vehicles will be a GDI technology. In the middle can be MPFI TCI and the GDI. Both can be, but not the naturally aspirated version for 1.5. All the three engines we showcased in the 2020 Expo, you might have seen all the three engines. Right now, the bottom one and the top one have gone into production. The NA is in production with the KUV, and the 1.2 liter MPFI TCI is in production in XUV300 engine. The GDI version of that is developed and it is about to go into production. And the GDI 2 liter is in production with Thar. It's a successful engine again. About 1,500 gasoline per month is the full from Thar as I see. So these engines share common thinking and the latest technologies coming from manufacturing, latest technologies coming from friction detection to improve the fuel efficiency of the gasoline engines, weight reduction, NVH measures, and then advanced technologies that help to remove the trade-off that comes between performance, emissions, fuel efficiency. Multiple levels of technologies are added into this.
Right.
Yeah, that's the fundamental. That's the journey. It's a 10 years journey, and we have 3 engines and at least 2 different versions, MPF ITK and the the GDI version, 2 different versions. So a matrix of six engines. So, in a 10 years, every 1.5 years, an engine was coming up. Yeah.
So you're happy with the journey in these 10 years? You're happy with what you've been able to achieve with the petrol engine portfolio?
I started as a diehard diesel guy. Even when I was studying combustion, I used to study minimum 3 SAE papers per day when I was in the college. So I will spend more into diesel because the diesel combustion was coming up at the point in time because that's an efficient engine. I was going into passenger car in my day. Um, but when I moved in 2018 to vehicle, I left the powertrain department with the diehard gasoline guy. It's a complete full circle.
So,
Yeah,
sir.
I was very happy with the gasoline engine. We put a right architecture in place, and I was very happy with that.
So when you were your team was working on these petrol engines, uh, was there any kind of a specific target or any kind of a specific parameter that maybe Dr. Goenka or Mr. Mahindra himself said that this is what we want the engines to achieve? Like probably we want it to be the most fuel efficient or we want it to be powerful. Was there any such thing shared by Dr. Goenka or Mr. Mahindra?
So Mahindra engines are known for spirited performance. You drive a Mahindra vehicle, you get a very peppy torque. Yeah.
Yep.
It is given that fuel efficiency has to be there. It is need of the hour in every segment. Maybe the smaller segment have the big sensitivity to fuel efficiency and material cost, the purchase price, than the higher segments. But at the end of the day, with the CAFE norms coming in, you cannot ignore fuel efficiency. So that is given. Then the spirited performance needs something low end torque that we call it as a, 1200 RPM full load torque. That we focus very heavily because city drive is all about low speed performance. Uh, uh, so therefore, those two are given to us that you need to meet those two torques. And then of course, the cost of the engine has to be competitive, and then the weight NVH. Um, the diesel, by virtue of its operations, uh, the customer will tolerate certain NVH nuisance. But when it comes to gasoline, nobody will accept any kind of NVH rumblings over its run-up. So we need to clean up the entire operating range of gasoline. So the gasoline refinement to represent a world-class gasoline, the refinement is very, very critical. So that was one piece of advice that we got.
And like you mentioned, the strategy for your petrol engines, like from starting, was you needed to have 3 types of engines, and
Yeah.
which you developed. So when you were making these engines, did you also have a strategy in place for the transmissions? And were there a certain types? Were there certain types of transmission technologies you were looking at to pair with these, or can you explore any type of transmissions to work with these engines?
So we knew that we would like to go with manual transmissions and automatic transmissions for 1.2 liter and 1.5 liter and the DCT because the manual, the AMT and the DCT, they all work in the principle that you don't raise the engine too much. You are
Right.
below 3000 horsepower. And when it comes to automatic transmission, torque converter, then you raise the engine to 4,000. Yeah. So, um, so it clearly fitted that the automatic version, the torque converter based automatic version will come in 2 liter engine and not the 1.2 liter and 1.5 liter. This 1.2 liter and 1.5 liter will be based out of the MT, AMT, and the DCT.
Okay.
and the engine running speeds are very similar. So that gave us a clue that, and once we put a turbocharged gasoline engine, we don't require to go for the stroke to bore ratio. We call it as a certain level that we have a secret number in our PD in our powertrain division. So this is the number, sweet spot number for the PBT. So we were hell bent on reaching that number. Like the pi number, you
Mhm.
you want that stroke to bore ratio.
Yeah.
So we got that stroke to bore ratio for the gasoline engines, which is very similar to the diesel engine. So you get a very good fuel efficiency and at the same time low in torque. Those who get with that uh, very it is the right sweet spot stroke to bore ratio. The point is that when you design the engine, you should know what is the stroke. Once you designed it, you cannot change it, and you cannot copy that because then it's a generation of engines. Generation is over then.
So if I've understood correctly, the larger 2-liter engine is considered more suitable for a torque converter 80, but the other two smaller engines are considered suitable for manual DCT and AMT.
That's correct. It is designed that way.
Okay.
In these engines also you can put it, but these engines are efficient when you put with the DCT, and nobody puts a torque converter on a smaller vehicle like X-Series.
With the upcoming second phase of the Euro 6, the emission regulations, what kind of changes will you need to make to these engines to make them compliant to upcoming regulations?
These engines are designed with Euro 6 in mind, particularly the 1.5 liter and 2 liter engines. 1.2 liter engine, when the NA engine was designed, we had Euro 5 in mind. That
Right.
basis was Euro 5 and upgradable to Euro 6. But the TGD engine, when when we designed, and the MPFI design, we designed MPFI TCI on the 1.0 upgrade we did. We converted to Euro 6 plus.
Okay. So the upcoming second phase in the BS6, these are ready to meet those norms.
The 1.2 liter TGD engine we are supplying to FIMC, which meets the Euro 6 plus norms.
Right.
The Euro 6, what do you call stage 4? I think.
Right.
Yeah, we meet that already.
Okay. And while you did tell us about the gearboxes, is CVT a technology that you considered, or are you still open to looking at CVT, or CVT is not part of Mahindra's powertrain strategy?
So it is like this that engine and transmission. Um, the CVT is a variable transmission, right?
Right.
Continuously variable transmission. If you have a only very small sweet spot in the engine, and as your vehicle speed is increasing,
Hmm.
you vary the transmission and you fix the operation point to the sweet point of the engine.
Okay.
That is why you need a variable, continuously variable transmission. Because
Right.
the engine, if you move above or below, you lose efficiency. This is the best. But if your engine is very sweet across the speed range, okay, then you don't require to necessarily vary the transmission. You can have a DCT, fixed ratio. No?
Right.
The DCT had a 6-speed transmission, and therefore it is the sixth is okay to take care of this weak point. Now, the engines that we have designed are having a wide range of sweet spot, because the way we have put the stroke to bore ratio, the technologies we have adopted, and we have gone to turbocharged engine. It is very similar to the diesel engine. The
Okay.
CVT typically are coupled with naturally aspirated engines. Naturally aspirated engines have got different combustion curve characteristics and best best fuel consumption and a very narrow range of fuel consumption.
Are you also can you scale up these engines? I mean, if at all tomorrow Mahindra wants to start maybe a performance line or maybe a vehicles that offer slightly more spirited performance, uh, are these ready to be upgraded to a higher power output without any major changes?
So the 1.2 liter NA engine is at 683 bhp when we launched in. It can go to the T today can go to 130 bhp. So that's the range.
Okay. Okay.
And similarly, 1.5 liter has a range of similar numbers, but under.
Okay.
And the 2 liter has a range, a very high range.
But can you tell us that range? Like what's that range like?
Arpit, I will invite you for 601 launch.
Right. Right. No,
But you can
I'll
imagine the 1.2 liter is it can go from 80 bhp, 83 bhp to 130 bhp,
yeah.
and something 1.5 liter is not yet launched, but in the Auto Expo we indicated about 150 bhp. But you can add the range, and right now we launched 150 bhp of torque gasoline. That's the minimum. Then you can extend how much it can. 2 liter.
All right.
So
Great. And so I'll look forward to the next announcement. I'll eagerly look forward to that. And when nowadays the a new trend is again, of course, for petrol engines is electrification. So what is Mahindra doing in terms of that? Especially if you talk about say the 48-volt architecture, or even looking at plug-in hybrids, are those things that Mahindra is already working on?
So this we have a good diesel engine and its volume. So and our product, the segment that we are in, we have good volume of diesel to take care of the cafe requirement. If I have full gasoline, then I have to look for um, um, 48 volt as a first step, and then plug-in hybrid as a second step, and then in in parallel I have to look for EV. But I think the way we are with planned volume of EV and with the improvements both in gasoline and diesel, um, and one or two models with 48 volt, we should be able to get through.
Again, if you look at the global market and also the Indian market today, what, according to you, are the next biggest upcoming trends that car makers need to keep track of in the powertrain area?
I think the powertrain is undergoing a significant change already. So whether it is variable valve timing, the turbocharging of gasoline engines, variable valve timing, they are becoming standard. Variable displacement oil pump is becoming variable displacement oil pump is becoming a standard. We are already moving to 350 power GDI instead of 250 power. Um, the turbochargers are earlier it was pneumatically actuated. Now they are going to electrically actuated to get the faster response. Um, the camshafts are becoming hollow just to reduce the weight. It's a weight reduction technology. The pistons are getting coated with the DLC diamond-like coating to reduce the friction. Um, Cylinder heads and cylinder block is becoming aluminum. So these are the technologies that you typically see it, and we have about that. My colleagues have given me a list of 31 patents that they have. I have not seen how many we have been granted, but I'm told that the list is about 31 applied. So it's not.
31 applied patents.
Yeah, 31 applied patents only for gasoline engines. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, huge 31 patents. Like that.
All right. Can you just briefly tell us maybe about a couple of them, some of the most important ones, the one for which probably you already have got a patent now and it's not under the application stage?
Yeah. So external EGR integrated with aluminum cylinder head along with intake VVT. So that's one patent. So The EGR, if you apply on a gasoline engine, you get fuel efficiency. So that's one thing that we have tried. We have a cross-flow cooling concept in our cylinder block and in the cylinder head. So the engines are stacked cylinder number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the coolant can start from first cylinder and then go to last cylinder. Okay, it is like the first baby and the last baby. So the first baby enjoys everything, and then the last baby, by the time the parents are bored with. So the cooling system, the last cylinder always used to suffer. We designed a cooling system. That cooling system enters in a neutral channel, and then it goes from exhaust side to intake side. Exhaust side is hotter, and the intake side is cold.
Right.
And every cylinder gets the same water temperature.
Okay.
So because you enter into a neutral channel and then run across the length, and then you go across the cylinder. Blow by core between the exhaust port and cylinder head with integrated exhaust port. So the gasoline engines are limited by the exhaust manifold material and its temperature.
Yeah.
If you have an independent exhaust manifold outside the cylinder head, you cannot cool it. So we decided, if you see Mahindra gasoline engines, the exhaust manifold is integrated into the cylinder. So you just directly mount the turbocharger onto the cylinder head. The exhaust manifold is cooled, so you can increase the power to very high levels. That's why our power density of our engines are very high. So, so therefore the knock tendency is lower, and you cool the engine. So that is a pattern. So you have to, when you have your exhaust manifold into the cylinder head, and the blow-by channels, you have to design it properly. So there are several patterns. So we put a pattern because we have to come out of the other's pattern. So we have to create an idea, and that idea got in. So like this, there are several.
Okay. So I think that answers pretty much all the queries I had. If there is anything interesting that you would like to add from an engineering or a technological standpoint, that would be really great. Great. If I have missed on probably asking something, is there something you would like to add?
Typically, the technologies require. The one thing is that in the gasoline engine, if you have a legacy of gasoline engine and manufacturing already old engines, as I said, the naturally aspirated engines, the power levels are at 4,000, 5,000 RPM. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the stroke is nothing but to go up and down. Yeah.
Right.
How much time it takes. When you run at high speeds, you want the stroke to be smaller and the bore to be bigger.
Yeah.
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 Because the linear distance and the friction that it generates is very high. If it has to travel long distance, the long stroke engines for a high speed, internally it will consume more power. The internal friction will be very high.
Very great.
So therefore, the NA engines are designed for that. So when you have a smaller stroke and a bigger bore, the combustion that explodes, that is the force. The work done is nothing but force into distance, right? But
Right.
the distance is your stroke. If you limit the strokes, make a smaller stroke, that's the distance, right? So you don't recover as much as energy out of the explosion.
Right.
Yeah. So therefore, but when you run the engines at high speed, the benefit that you get out of this longer stroke is offset by the high frictions due to the high speed for a long stroke. Okay, so the people limit the stroke. Now, when you design it for turbocharged engine, so what you want to do is you don't want to go to such higher level because with the turbocharged engine you are getting power and torque at very low speeds. Then you can increase the stroke and decrease the force.
Okay.
So then the explosion force and the distance that piston travel, you get efficiency across it.
True.
Yeah. So the newer engines have the possibility to go to this route because turbocharger has become, GDI has become commonly available.
Yes.
Earlier it was an engine, correct?
Right.
So the newer engines have, the Mahindra newer gasoline engines have got this benefit. And then coupled with a lot of other friction technologies, crankshaft offset, the variable oil pump, variable volume oil, piston skirt coating, piston pin coating, all these technologies make about 30% reduction in the friction. So make the gasoline more
30% reduction in,
in
sorry.
the friction levels.
Okay.
So, so you make the gasoline engines very efficient. But if you make all these changes, you have to change your entire line. If you have made a line, the bore and stroke and pitches you have made it for the old gasoline engine, it is not easy, and you are churning 500, 600 per day. It is not easy to change the production.
Right.
But for Mahindra's advantage is that you are making a new engine and therefore new production system. Now I can put all the new things.
Right.
Maybe after 10, 15 years, I will become, one more generation. But today, I'm the best. It's not that competition does not know these technologies, but it is that they are webbed by the current production system.
True.
It's a massive investment to change the production system to bring in. That's the benefit that we enjoy over competition.
Right. And when we talk about your long-term powertrain strategy, if I say talk about your forward model program for maybe the next 5 or 7 years, do you think these three engines will suffice, or can we expect a different engine, a fourth one, or a heavily reworked version also?
I don't think the Miller engines are there already. Miller technologies we are working on for the CAF. Many people are working on Miller technologies. I don't think there are further technologies left out. The VGT, of course, from a today gasoline engines are using Westgate. It can go to West. Small improvements which are done outside, but the basic structure of the engine is not going to change much in the next uh, 10 years at least. 10 years.
Sure.
And then probably we are switching to EV.
All right. I think that was a very interesting and very insightful conversation with you. There are a lot of new things that I got to know about Mahindra engines, and I'm sure even our viewers and readers will appreciate all these details. So, once again, thank you so much for speaking to Express Drives today and sharing these wonderful insights.
Thank you. Thank you, Arpit. Nice talking to you.